Welcome to Watch Symposium. I'm Austin, and this is a custom video for D. Alright, he writes, "Howdy Austin, love your channel. Hope to come to Japan one day and meet you to find a 214-270 Mark II or an Explorer 2 40mm with a tritium dial. Or maybe a 2010 birth year 14060M for my son. I've always wanted a fat lady too, as I'm a 1987 model." He says, I think they will be jumping up, talking about the birth year watches, in price over the next several years as my generation is turning 40 from 2024 to 2028. So will there be a run on birth year watches with this new batch of 40-year-olds? I don't know. Maybe. He says, I have a Batman, referenced above, bought it brand new in 2018 from an authorized dealer in Texas. I want to keep it stock as it is a special piece for me, my first Rolex. It has been my daily since 2018. I now live in Doha, and I love the functionality of keeping track of my extended family back in the US. I love GMTs as well for that. He says, I am, however, thinking about buying a used LN version. Okay, that's the 116710 LN. The all black, the last of the mono bezeled GMTs. Ever since then, they've been bicolored and they always will be going forward. He says he wants to buy one of those LNs and Frankenstein it. I want to remove the Cyclops and change out the bracelet to an Explorer or Sub brushed bracelet. Now, this is kind of telling, this next bit. It's kind of buried in here, but it's kind of telling as to psychologically what's going on with this gentleman here. I recently bought a 116600, and I love adjustability of the bracelet and the no Cyclops. Okay, so he's just gotten this Sea Dweller. It's the last of the 40mm Sea Dwellers. They only made that model for about 4 years. Kind of collectible, potentially collectible. It's that short 4-year run on the last of the Sans Cyclops 40mm Sea Dweller. After that, it grew in size. It got the Cyclops. And so basically, if you read what's going on, he wants to turn another GMT into this new watch that he has, that he likes so much, with that brushed bracelet. That's not really what we do in the Rolex world. It's we don't customize our things. Now, it's kind of interesting that I say that because it is your watch and you can do anything you want to it, but it's just not something we do, especially not us purists. One thing that I think is kind of cool to do, I've never actually done it and I probably will never do it myself, would be to put a display case back on a Rolex. But that's about it. Anyway, let's continue on. He says, have you ever seen anyone do what I'm proposing? Do you know if either bracelet is interchangeable? Okay, so he's just talking about the bracelet at this point. And yeah, how can you make it brushed? Well, you could brush the existing bracelet on the 116710 LN. I've seen pictures of people that have done that to their bracelet. I wouldn't do it. It's too much of a commitment, and it's not the way Rolex is supposed to do it. They'll never do it, so you'd have to get a third party to do it. Or you could get a third party bracelet. Or you could do what he's talking about doing and get the sub bracelet. So yes, this is another option, and I kind of like this option because you're keeping everything authentic Rolex, and you would be looking for the 97200 bracelet. Now, the kind of interesting thing is he has almost that same bracelet on his Sea Dweller, the 116600 that he's got. Now, that technically has the 97400 bracelet, and that 400 as opposed to the 200 has to do with the solid inlinks, the inlinks. Okay, so the inlinks on the two watches are different, and that accounts for the thickness of your 40mm 116600. But he doesn't want to fiddle with his Rolex Sea Dweller. Surprise, surprise, right? I mean, he understands that, like, okay, this is not normal what we're doing, so bringing my Sea Dweller into this nonsense is just a bridge too far. But to source a 97200 bracelet, that would be the way to go. But something that's really interesting and important, and that's that you have to use the spring bars on your watch. And this is something I've never really put two and two together. Spring bars and the case and the spring bars, those go together in a way that I don't think we realize as watch people. I certainly didn't. I think of spring bars and bracelets going together, but it's the case and the spring bar. If you try to use the wrong spring bars on your GMT case, they won't sit properly. So that's the key thing here. You have to use your GMT spring bars, okay? You can't use the sub spring bars. So that's just something that I've never really thought about, but yeah, that is key, okay? Going this far, I think, is fine. Now, he wants to take it further. He mentioned the Cyclops, and so here we go with something that is a little bit more hardcore in terms of customizing your watch. He says, regarding the Cyclops, would it be possible to have a watchmaker replace the sapphire with a no Cyclops version, or would the only way to remove it be via the heat up and pry off method? Now, this is a method. It's going around some YouTube videos, some from a few years back, where you heat up the Cyclops and you basically pry it off. You sort of, with a chisel, try to chip it off in just one clean blow. And it apparently works, okay? But we're talking about the 116710 LN, and things are a little bit different. And they put anti-magnetic stuff on the inside of the crystal around the Cyclops of that model. So for the people that have done this, they've noticed that after they get the magnifier off, it's basically, there's a little puddle of anti-reflective glass around where the date is, and that's kind of weird, and you're not going to want that. So you're not going to want to just pry it off, although I wouldn't do that anyway. That's kind of crazy. I mean, a modern Rolex under a file or a chisel, tink, 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 I don't know. It's just, that's going too far for many of us. Would you do it, viewer? Not I. You could have it changed out, but again, that's sort of, it's not that big of an operation. A third-party watchmaker would have to do it. You would have to think about the integrity of your watch in water. And of course, if you've just had your watch serviced, that would void any kind of warranty you can get from Rolex. So God forbid, knock off that Cyclops. But you're not going to want to do that, because again, you're going to have some issues with the legibility, and it's just not going to be uniform thanks to that little bit of anti-reflective coating on the inside of that glass. So yeah, glad I could stop you from at least doing that. I have seen some videos here and there, but figured I would ask, as you're the GMT dude. I am the GMT dude. I love GMTs. In fact, we're going to talk about a GMT in the next video. The 116710 LN is a great watch in and of itself. I don't think you should customize it that much, but hey, it would be your watch if you wanted to. No harm done. I would try to do everything to where you can put it back to, originality. So I wouldn't brush the watch bracelet it comes with, and I wouldn't mess with the crystal that it comes with. Having those changed out via a watchmaker that you trust, okay, all right, but make sure you can get it back, and then no harm done. All right, guys, let him know what you think about this kind of GMT weirdness he's thinking about doing. Is he just blinded by the beauty of this new 116600, and he's trying to think how he can get a GMT to look as much like that? Look, you've got two great watches, a GMT and this diver, two-piece collection. That's all you need. I would just keep it as is. If you want to add this third piece, fine, but yeah, I would let it speak for itself in terms of aesthetics. Let me know what you think. Take care. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Customizing your Rolex watch. Viewer, have you ever done it? As far as I've gone, I've put a Jubilee bracelet on my Explorer 2. That's as wild and crazy as I've gotten. But that was wild and crazy enough. I'm more of a purist, but hey, people do it. They customize their watches. They put diamonds all over them, so to each his own.